This is the Grow My Clinic podcast by Clinic Mastery, where we help you deliver amazing client experiences to grow your clinic.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Grow My Clinic podcast. My name is Jack O'Brien. Thank you for sharing your earbuds with us today. Oh, earbuds. Well, they're the new fancy ones from Apple, but your earphones is probably a better description. Today, we've got another guest joining us on the podcast. We have Adam Johnstone from the iGenius group, and he is a genius. Adam, welcome to the podcast. How are you today, mate?
Really, really good. Thanks, Jack, for asking, mate.
Great. All right. So today we're going to be talking all things tech and IT. As the name suggests, you are a genius, and we often are not, as health professionals who are in business, running a clinic. We're good at the health side of things, but not at the tech. Although I'd imagine for progressive listeners of this podcast, they all understand the importance of technology, but we're pretty clueless. So, mate, can you tell us a little bit about your backstory and what's led you to get into IT and tech and now leading iGenius?
Yeah, sure. No, thank you for the opportunity as well. So my background predominantly was in IT consulting, and I worked with a few large companies. Probably one of the ones that was the major ones was SMS. And the kinds of clients that they had were clients like Telstra, ANZ, NAB. And as an IT consultant, basically you would go out on site, you'd be dealing with sort of larger teams and seeing some pretty, I guess, full-on problems, but also even some sort of minor things as well that, I guess, in a day-to-day thing, you'd have a team of people and you'd be solving those kinds of those IT issues. And I think what happened along the way was working with some of those bigger companies. What I realized was my passion lie more working with smaller companies and small to medium enterprise companies. And I wanted to bring a lot of that knowledge from sort of that big consulting background across to the smaller companies. Sure. Because I thought that they kind of get left out in the cold a little bit. And so there was just so much stuff that I saw on that side that I wanted to bring across, and also make it so that as a small business, how do we level you up to be able to play and behave bigger than what you are? So that was my sort of goal, was to come back and bring IT to the forefront there.
I love it. And so now you work, obviously not exclusively with small business, but that's your bread and butter. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. So small to medium enterprise, for me, is sort of anywhere from 20 to 150 employees. That's sort of bread and butter. And then I love working with even smaller businesses and practices. So you sort of your 5 to 20 employees, startups, those types of guys as well, because a lot of the time the problems are the same. They're just at a different scale. So the majority of the time, the products can even be the same. You just need to know what is the best way of utilizing it and integrating it into your business to get the best result for your size company. Mm-hmm. So that's probably one of the things that I love.
And that's really encouraging to hear, because often health clinics are in maybe solo or startup, maybe a small team, somewhere between 5 to 50 would be the typical size clinic. So it's really refreshing to hear, that a pretty solid company would still work with some of these small businesses, which is really exciting. Can we just take it back a step first, Adam, and just explain what even is IT? When we say you're a tech company, what does this even mean?
I love that question, because even now when I go out on site and work with some clients, that they say, so what are you doing? Because isn't IT just like printers and monitors and that's and cables maybe, right? And it's like, yes, it is that, but it's grown to become, so for me, IT is a combination of the software and the hardware that drives your business. So it's the laptops, the monitors, the printers, and those types of things. And then more often than not now, it's the software that glues all of that together. So we've gone through a real change in the last 5 to 10 years where we've moved away from everything was installed on your machine in your practice or your business to now having a lot more options in the cloud. But with those options, we've now got an abundance of choice. And this is where a lot of clients are getting stuck, is there's so much choice out there. What's the right choice when we work with clients? So so IT, if I can really boil it down, it's definitely the printers and the monitors and all that stuff, but it's also the software that drives the business. And then I'd also say the tech. I like to put tech as part of IT as well, because generally speaking, while we're on site, someone will run up with their phone and say, "This isn't working." Put it on the desk and say, "Can you fix my phone?" So just tick as well.
Yeah, got it. Okay, that's good. It's that infrastructure, the digital and the soft infrastructure that enables so much of what we do. Most clinics that we work with at Clinic Mastery now have a real suite of IT services, whether that's cloud-based softwares or different types of hardwares that really didn't exist a couple of years ago. Can you run us through some of the simple devices and softwares that we're referring to? You mentioned, printers and monitors. What are some of the common hardwares and softwares that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
So day-to-day basis, the majority of the hardware that I'll be seeing is iPhones and even some of the newer Android phones, so Samsungs and those bits and pieces. So people are coming to us and asking us how do they get a particular app working on their phone, or is there an app that can do X, Y, Z to help them in their business? And then typically that conversation moves from that sort of hardware side and, what's the best, should I buy a Windows machine or should I buy a Mac? And I'm agnostic across it. I always look at it like whatever's best for you, and I can help you, have like 5 criteria and we can work out what's the best, machine for you. But then pretty much after that, everything moves across into software. And so I like to start pretty simple with businesses where I like to have a look at what are they actually using right now. And one of the best questions is, what are you using spreadsheets for right now? So what are you doing in your spreadsheets? What's that all about? And then looking at, is that the best use of your time? And are you mangling a lot of these spreadsheets? And are there other things out there that you could be using, whether it's cloud or software, that can speed up that process? And but my goal is always to, we call it augmenting the human, which is basically it's a fancy term for basically saying, we just want to make your life easier so you can focus on what you're good at, which is customers, clients, scale, more business. However we can help with that, that's what it's all about. So,
I love that. And like tech should really be an extension of ourselves, right? It's either automating or making easier, simpler what we do naturally.
Yeah, and that's probably one reason why when I started iGenius, it started off as an IT consultancy, and it was just a standard sort of IT consultancy. We do X, Y, and Z. But what I wanted to get back to was that this is all about, and our tagline is basically, new technology with a human feel. I want to make technology an extension of a person. So let's not lose that face-to-face, that relationship, because at the end of the day, if you can just expand your current clients or whatever, but keep and retain the majority of them, and make sure that the lifetime value of the customers, are always growing, or at least you're holding on to customers for longer, you are going to have such a more successful business. And if we can enable that and create that human interaction, all the better. So that's sort of our view on it.
Yeah, that's great. And that's really a great resonance, I'm sure, with a lot of the listeners and that abundant sort of mindset. So, okay, let's grill the genius for a second, if you will.
Fire away.
When business owners are considering an IT provider or a tech support provider, what mistakes do you see them making? What questions do they ask where you go, that's a stupid question, or they just don't understand? What mistakes do you see clinic owners or business owners make?
Yep. Okay. This is near and dear to my heart, because if there's one thing I would love to do, it's to help business owners with not only choosing tech providers, but also knowing what to ask. So I've really boiled this down to probably a 2 or 3 step process. So one of the things is to also even understand your limitations around what you understand and what you don't understand.
Sure.
That really the first thing is that whenever you engage a IT provider, no matter how good they may be, there is still a level of briefing that needs to happen on your side. So you need to understand, what is it that we're trying to achieve here? What is our end goal? And to be able to sort of, I would say in as non-technical way as possible, explain the outcome that you want.
Great. So begin with the end in mind, right?
Exactly. So an example of this, and I'll give you throw a little bite your way, is when you're talking to IT, one of the best ways, especially if you're talking to an app developer or a website person, is to talk to them it's called story mode, and I'll explain this. Basically, if you're giving them a feature or a requirement, you want to say to them something to the tune of, okay, so as a front desk administrator, so you're saying this is who the user is for. As a front desk administrator, I want to be able to do X, Y, Z so that I can get outcome Y. You might say, as a front desk administrator, I want to be able to send out a link to a calendar application, a cloud calendar application, so that my clients can click the appointments that they want and receive regular updates so that they know when they're due to come in, so that we don't have to do all of the other manual processing underneath.
Sure.
If you talk in that statement to an IT person, they understand who the user is, what you're trying to achieve, and why you're trying to achieve it. And you've talked in a business language. What I'll get clients to do is put that into a spreadsheet or some sort of tool, and when you're briefing your IT provider, if you speak in that language, it's so much easier. You can say, these are the 10 things I want. These are the story statements. Go away and give me a quote and an estimate. That's probably one of the biggest pieces of advice.
So if I was to let me practice, let's role play here and see if I understand and I can speak on behalf of the listeners.
Yep.
As a clinic owner, I want to be able to put in some numbers into a spreadsheet and it spit out some of my KPIs so that I understand the performance of my practitioners.
Exactly. That's perfect.
So you could go away and then find the software that does it and build it for me.
Pretty much. And all I'll ask is, my questions there would be, when you say KPIs, what do you mean by KPIs? And we'd firm up that statement around what a KPI is.
Sure.
But it was 95% on the money.
Great.
So
okay.
That's
really
one little tweak.
What else? What other questions should businesses be asking of their IT providers?
So as a business, I think one of the most important things is to understand cost from an IT provider, because what IT providers that I've worked with will do, if they don't get a really good solid brief, they can spin their wheels a little bit. And I think out there, a lot of people have had that hurt around spending a lot of money on an IT provider and not quite getting what they wanted, and at the end. So I would probably say something to the tune of, the story statements is number one, but number two, ask them to, when you're first engaging an IT services provider, ask or test them out by giving them small pieces of work. So small piece of work quoted with a direct outcome, and test, okay, are these guys giving me a price that's really cheap with the hope that they can push the project out and just it'll cost more along the way?
Sure.
Or are they true to their word? They're experts. They know what they're doing. They say it's, $1,500 and it was exactly $1,500 delivered in a week. Test them with something small. And then the other thing as well is, I'll put it out there, and this is a mass sweeping generalization, so I apologize for the IT people out there who are great at communication.
No one's listening, right? Just you and me.
Yeah. Generally speaking, IT companies are not the best at communicating. So what I'd say to you as a business is, you need to sometimes jump in and take away some of that that bad communication by over communicating yourself. So if I'm a clinic, what I'd be suggesting is saying, okay, so when will it be likely that this is done by? And they might say, look, it's in a week. And you say, okay, great. What's the worst case scenario? Always ask for a ranged estimate. So if they're saying it should be 7 days, so say something like, 7 to 10. So in other words, if everything was to go wrong, would it be about, and you might be surprised. They might say, oh, everything went wrong. If we didn't get the login, if we didn't get this, it might be 21 days. That's what you need to know. It's what's the best case and the worst case. And then lastly, when are you available to do the work? Are you full-time? And what is your process? So always ask an IT provider what their process is around briefing. So because it might be 20 days of effort and you think, great, well, that's a month's worth. That's 5 days a week. And they say, oh, well, we can only get someone 2 days a week. So now you're thinking, okay, so it's 2 days a week. It's now, 10 weeks.
Stretches right
So it's just clarifying all those things. If you don't ask those questions up front, sometimes you'll find you're a month in and think, how come we haven't got it delivered? So it's trying to avoid those kinds of occurrences. That's probably the best advice I can give.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adam, you touched a little bit there on price, and obviously we're not going to go into a dollars discussion here. Everything is different. But I would imagine that for clinic owners to think about the outcomes of their investment, whether that's a fixed price project cost, which I would suggest is a really good route to go down for clinic owners to consider, or if it ends up being a dollar per hour thing. Am I correct in suggesting clinic owners need to think about the cost of IT as an investment versus an expense? And also, what's the cost of doing nothing? What's the cost of not fixing something, right? Have you got any horror stories, or what are your takes on that approach?
So I can definitely run you through a few sort of stories. I can't mention names, but
of course,
the crux of the story will help. But I would always suggest getting a fixed price and starting off like that at the start.
Is it an investment or expense?
Investment. So a lot of businesses that I work with, IT reports to the CFO. So IT is seen as a cost.
Yes.
What I find, and this is, I want to say this to the listeners out there, is that if you always look at IT as a cost, you can miss sometimes where IT can actually produce an income or produce some type of competitive. You can almost leapfrog your competition with technology or with that sort of investment in technology. So it's a double-edged sword. You don't want to spend too much on IT, but if you do look at it as an investment, it really, if that's your mindset, you'll find that you'll start to leapfrog your competition and set yourself up as someone who's in the blue water, who's really different to the rest. So I would encourage your listeners to do that. And I think the way to look at IT then is to really look at it like, not only how can it enable our business with our operations and save time and money, that's just like the standard stuff, that's the cost cutting. But also, how could we even use our tech at the moment to scale our business, to produce more income or something else? Are there parts of your business that you could use tech to produce other streams of income? I'll give you an example as well of when you talk about some of the horror stories. So some of the horror stories are around costs. So I'll give you an example where one of the providers we were building an app for, and now we'd come on after another vendor had worked on that app. So we've kind of, we inherited that application, which is always difficult when you're doing that. Yeah. But what we found was there was a very small time frame that they had to test the application. We didn't have all the passwords yet. So long story short, the provider said, look, I'm not spending any more money. Let's just keep it as is. You guys keep working on that stuff and we'll demo. And we were none the wiser. And I think what happened later on is we went out to demo to a client and the app had expired, because when you're testing a live app, you've only got 30 days to test it, but you actually have 90 days if you go in there earlier and extend it. And we were told, don't worry about all that. It was one of those bad decisions that management were like, we don't want to spend the money to get you guys even to look at it. We just want you building the app. Something as small as that had a massive impact. So what I'd say to most businesses around that kind of situation is, if you're nearly almost at the end of it, sometimes it's better to actually just see that last piece through. You'll have a line in the sand around when you say, that's it, that's the end of the project now. But when you are engaging vendors, ask them, what would you do if you're in my shoes?
Yeah, sure.
Because a lot of vendors will do what you tell them to do, or IT providers. But if you say, what would you do if you're in my shoes? They'll say, well, actually, I'd probably go in and log in and extend the time frame, because it's a 5-minute job. It'll save you a headache. So that's like one horror story I can tell you. And it caused a lot of, hurt, basically.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's interesting. I think for us at Clinic Mastery, and we're working with hundreds of businesses and helping them with their tech and making sure they've got the right providers on side. We would often say to our clinics that we work with that your IT support is not just a service provider, but they're a partner in your business in a lot of senses. You want to consider your IT provider as someone who's really going to help save you some unnecessary expenses. For instance, I know there's a mutual client of ours that we pushed your way who's integrated the GSuite of Google apps into her business. And, that might cost her, whatever it was, $50, $100 a month ongoing. Yeah. But it might save her $50 a day in wasted time. So it's a really important investment to make that happen. And the advice of a useful IT provider or IT partner, make the best decisions around when and what to invest in. So what are the common things that you get people on board with? I mentioned GSuite. Are there any other options, or what are kind of the staples that small businesses would have in place?
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely agree with you there, Jack. Around we are an extension of their team, and that's what we like to see ourselves as. Is that really we're just like we're the 2 or 3 IT guys sitting in your office. We're just not sitting in your office, basically.
Yep, great.
That's the way we like to see it, because at the end of the day, we want to be just as much a part of your team to be able to solve the problems almost on your team, on your side. You know. And I think that's probably one of the things to always ask when you are looking at IT vendors is, do they feel like they're going to be part of my team and making decisions in my best interest? So I think that was a really good point. The staples that I'm seeing at the moment, so GSuite is definitely a staple. It's an interesting one for us because one of the other staples we see a lot of is Office 365 and SharePoint. And so SharePoint is basically a document management tool for businesses as they get a little bit bigger and they need some workflow and process management, process implementation type stuff. And what that basically means is, you've got the document management side, just like in GSuite, but you've also got this workflow component where if somebody needs to approve a task or a document and it goes through 2 or 3 levels of approval or something, you can use that as well. The reason it's funny is because as an IT consultancy, we offer SharePoint and we help with that consulting side, but we actually use GSuite, which is a competitor because Google has been such a staple for such a long time. It's a fantastic product. It continues to grow every day. And in all honesty, it saves me a lot of time. Like all of my presentations, everything I do, even when I go and meet clients, is all done through GSuite. So I'd say that's definitely a staple for us. Some of the other types of products other than SharePoint, I would say, are portal type software. So this is something we're seeing a lot more now, is as even smaller businesses, 1 to 5 people, 5 to 10, to scale that business, you need to have a place where customers can go and book or find information, engage with you, but engage with you in a way that doesn't mean that you need to pick up a phone and have a half hour or an hour conversation. So what that portal looks like is it's not your website. So your website's more your brochure of who you are and what you do. Sure. The portal is a unique login type site for a client if they want to book, a session, but also if they want more information on a particular type of session, or maybe their patient information is stored on that portal. So rather than calling you and saying, hey, can you send me my, files, my x-rays and this and that and whatever else? It's like, well, yep, but that's all on the portal. If you just jump over here, that has all of your information, your notes, session details. So clients are starting to look at that now and saying, that's really interesting. And I'll give you a little bit there, is that
for sure
what we're actually doing now is implementing artificial intelligence, so AI, into those portals, where there's a little person down the bottom right you can talk to and it will answer questions. So you can say things like, if my patella is something, what does that mean? And it will actually go and find information from, let's just say I'm not even quite sure what the practice would be, but it would basically give you information and help you and answer some of those questions, so that you can almost go through and have that whole engagement person to person, but you're actually talking to an artificial intelligent robot. And down the bottom, did I answer your question, or do you want to call us? So it's like you're educating your customers further and further, trying to create that human connection, but then also directing them to call you if and when they need to. So it's all about getting those phone calls down from half an hour back down to 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah, great. So, yeah. That's really cool. It's really interesting. Maybe let's look back to the Google stuff and GSuite. With our Clinic Mastery Business Academy, what we provide as part of that is a massive portal of resources and template processes that are largely based within the Google environment. There might be Google Forms or Google Docs, Google Sheets.
Yep.
We also provide a massive Google Site template. If let's play hypothetically, if a clinic joins the Business Academy and we're looking to provide this Google stuff and they don't yet have Google, they don't have the GSuite stuff, should they do it themselves or should they get help?
If they feel confident and they're technical enough, I would say at least read through, and if you feel confident, try. But in most cases, I would say it is a lot better to hand that over to somebody technical, because there's a few steps that you can really get caught on. And if you mess those things up, sometimes it costs a lot more to undo it than it would have if you had have engaged an IT person from the start. So definitely, especially when you're around setting up your email addresses and your domain and all those other bits and pieces that's within GSuite, there are a few things to note. Also, understanding the types of levels of accounts. Like there's the normal level, there's the next level up where you've got access to a team drive. You may not need a team drive, but it's understanding all of those different levels. And also, I'd even say around some training on how to get the best out of it. Like what does a good structure look like within Google Drive and those types of Google products for you as a business? And I know that that's what you do a lot of. So I definitely think on that side. And I think the other part of it is once you engage an IT vendor, the second part of that discussion is, okay, so you've got GSuite set up, you've done all of that. What's the next step? And what I can tell you is that when you submit a form, there are so many other cloud services that can trigger when you do something. You know, if something happens in LinkedIn, we can put that in, we can insert a row into a Google spreadsheet. If a Google spreadsheet row gets, one more row gets implemented, you can generate a phone call or a text message to someone. Like there's so many things that we can do there. I think the last thing I'll talk about is if you've got lots of calendars throughout your organization, probably the most common question I get is, I have 10 calendars, including a family calendar. Is there a way that when an event comes into one calendar, I can send that same event to some of my other calendars? But there's a bit of an if condition. If it's a weekend event, send it to the family calendar as well, because I want the family to know that this weekend's booked with work stuff.
Sure.
So you get all of that added stuff when you speak to an IT person. It's telling you what's possible with the technology.
I love that. Often we think of technology in silos, where these days it can all be zapped together pretty easily. And I love that you also mentioned an IT provider isn't just one that is a vendor of services that sets things up and disappears. Users or clinic owners should be looking for someone who will teach them how to get the best out of what it is that they're implementing. That's super cool. And I would definitely agree in terms of getting help with setting up your GSuite. It's worth its weight in gold to have that done quickly, efficiently, and without problems. Adam, that's been really useful. I'm sure there's heaps of gold nuggets in there for listeners to write down, maybe go back, listen to the podcast again, check out the show notes. We'll make sure we link up to everything that we've mentioned here today. But I would imagine as listeners downloaded this podcast and pressed play, they went, "Oh, I'm sick of my IT guy. I'm so frustrated. It's the bane of my existence." And they want to talk to someone who understands. If listeners want to talk to you or find out more about what the iGenius Group does, where should they go and what should they do?
Okay, so two of the best spots. Probably one of the best ways is to call 1300 iGenius. That will come straight through to our staff, and our competent people who can sort of guide them through the process and also answer some of the questions that you might even get through to me, depending on which number you mash. Otherwise, the other best way to get in touch with us is if you go to www.igeniusgroup.com and just tap the get in touch button, and that's probably the best way. Is just leave us a message there. Let us know what you're thinking and what you need some help with, and our guys can get in touch with you and help you out on that journey.
Brilliant. Really appreciate that, Adam. And listeners, as we said, you can head to that phone number, 1300 iGenius or igeniusgroup.com. We'll have that all linked up in the show notes, plus everything else we've mentioned here today, which will be at www.clinicmastery.com/podcast. That's where all the goodies are at. Adam, thanks for joining us. Any parting remarks?
No, just I'd say happy coding / happy ITing to all you guys out there.
Oh, the geeks. I love it. Listeners, thank you for sharing your earbuds with us. We look forward to bringing you another episode again really soon. Bye for now.
This is the Grow My Clinic podcast by Clinic Mastery, where we help you deliver amazing client experiences to grow your clinic.